The twin suns burned over the dying world of Zerath 9, a planet once full of rivers and life. Now only dust remained. The air shimmered with heat and the wind carried the taste of sand and despair. Every living creature here fought for one thing: water. Across a cracked plain, a young alien girl named Sira stumbled forward. Her feet were bare, her skin dry and gray from dehydration. She carried a small metal bottle tied to her belt, but it had been empty for 2 days. Each step felt heavier than the last. Her throat burned like fire. In the distance, the skeletons of old cities stood like broken teeth. Rusted towers reached into the sky, whispering stories of the past, when the oceans were full and children played under blue rain. But that was long ago. Now the only sound was the dry wind moaning through the ruins. Sira stopped near an old sign buried in sand. The words were faded, but one symbol still glowed weakly: a droplet. It meant there had once been a water station nearby. Her heart leapt. She fell to her knees, scraping away sand with her trembling hands. Beneath it lay nothing but a corroded pipe and cracked stone. No water. Tears came, but even they refused to fall. Her body had no moisture left for crying. From behind the dunes a rumble echoed, the sound of engines. Sira froze. She ducked behind a broken metal beam as 3 desert bikes roared past, riders wearing dark masks and armor. They were water raiders, men who hunted the weak for their supplies. She waited until their noise faded into the horizon. When she rose again, her legs shook. She whispered to herself, just one drop. Just one. Hours passed. The suns began to sink, turning the sky blood red. Shadows stretched long across the wasteland. Sira's vision blurred. The horizon wavered like liquid. She thought she saw a shimmer, a small flicker of firelight between rocks. Hope or mirage, she didn't know, but she moved toward it. As she climbed the ridge, the smell of boiled rations and metal smoke filled the air. Behind a cluster of rocks, she found a small human camp. A single figure sat beside a flickering fire, a man wearing dusty armor with the mark of the Terran Exploration Corps. A human, one of the outsiders. Sira's breath caught in her throat. Humans were rare here. Some said they came from a world so rich in water they bathed every day. Others said they carried oceans in their ships. The man sat quietly, sharpening a blade. His face was calm, focused. A canteen hung from his belt. When he lifted it to drink, Sira's eyes locked on that tiny motion, the sound of liquid moving inside. The sound of life. Her body moved before her mind could stop it. She stepped out from the shadows, her hands raised. Please. Her voice cracked. Water. Please. The man turned sharply, his hand going to his sidearm. He relaxed when he saw her. Thin, fragile, no weapon, only desperation. His blue eyes studied her for a long moment. You shouldn't be out here, he said in a deep voice. It's death past the ridge. Sira shook her head. Death is already here. She took a slow step closer, trembling. I can pay. I will work. I will clean your gear, anything, please. Just one drop, the human frowned. He reached for the canteen but didn't open it yet. What's your name? Sira, she whispered. He nodded slowly. I'm Ryan, Commander Ryan. You're not supposed to be near this zone. There are patrols. I have nowhere else. Her voice broke. They closed the wells. My family is gone. Ryan's expression softened. He stood and walked closer, his boots crunching on sand. Up close, she looked worse than he thought. Her lips cracked, skin peeling, eyes sunken. A symbol on her arm caught his eye, a mark of exile. She had been cast out by her own people. Sira reached out her trembling hand. Please, one drop. Ryan opened his canteen and the scent of cool water filled the air. The sound made Sira's knees weaken. But instead of giving it to her, Ryan hesitated. If I give you this, he said slowly, you'll follow me. You'll tell me what happened here, deal? She nodded rapidly, almost falling forward. Yes. Anything. Ryan uncapped the canteen and tilted it toward her. The first drop touched her tongue and she gasped as if life had returned to her veins. She drank greedily, but Ryan gently pulled it back before she drained it all. That's enough for now, he said. You'll make yourself sick. Sira breathed hard, whispering, Thank you. Thank you, human. But before Ryan could reply, a sharp mechanical beep echoed from his wrist console. He looked down, emotion alert. Someone was approaching fast. His eyes hardened. We have company. Sira froze. Who? He pulled out his rifle. Raiders. Or worse. In the distance, lights flickered, 3 then 5. Drones scanning the dunes. Ryan doused the fire with sand. "Stay low," he ordered. "Don't make a sound." They hid behind the rocks as engines thundered past. Sierra pressed close, her heart pounding in her chest. For the first time in days, she wasn't thinking of water. She was thinking of survival. When the noise finally faded, Ryan glanced at her. "You're lucky I found you first." Sierra stared back, breathing fast. "No," she whispered. "I think it's you who's unlucky." Ryan frowned, confused, until a faint red dot appeared on his chest. A laser sight, a sniper had found them. The red laser dot blinked once on Ryan's chest, then vanished as he rolled to the ground, pulling Sierra down with him. A blast cut through the night air, striking the rock behind them and spraying shards of stone and sand. "Sniper," Ryan hissed. His rifle was already in his hands. "Stay low." Sierra's body shook as another shot cracked. Dust filled her lungs. The glow of the twin moons washed the dunes in pale silver, and through it she saw the shapes. 3 armored riders, engines humming like predators. Ryan fired once. A flash of blue plasma streaked across the ridge, forcing the attackers to scatter. He grabbed Sierra's hand. "Move!" They ran between rocks, their boots crunching over dry sand. The wind howled through narrow canyons, carrying the echo of shouts. Ryan ducked behind a dune, pulling Sierra down beside him. "Who are they?" "Hunters," she gasped. "They work for the Dome Authority. They kill anyone who leaves the water zones." "Authority?" he muttered. "Figures." He checked his rifle, half charge left. Not enough for a long fight. Sierra peeked over the rock, her eyes wide. "They're coming again." Ryan turned to her. "If you want to live, listen carefully. When I say run, you head east toward that ridge. Don't stop for anything," her voice broke. "No, if I run, they'll shoot me first." He studied her for a second. Beneath the layers of dust and fear, there was strength, a will to survive. "Then stay close." A final blast roared. The dune behind them exploded into a cloud of glowing sand. Ryan rose to one knee, fired 2 precise shots, and hit a raider's bike. The machine spun and crashed, flames licking the ground. The others turned back, retreating into the dark. Silence fell again, broken only by Sierra's breathing. Ryan lowered his weapon. "They'll be back with more," she nodded weakly. "They never stop." He looked at her canteen, still hanging empty. "You said they closed your wells." "Why?" Sierra's gaze dropped. "The leaders decided the water must belong to the strongest. They locked it away. Those who couldn't pay were left to die." Ryan frowned. "That's not survival. That's cruelty." She laughed softly, a dry, broken sound. "Cruelty is life here." Ryan stood and scanned the horizon. "I have a ship east of the dunes. I can take you somewhere safer." Her eyes brightened, then dimmed again. "No place is safe. They're not after me. They're after what I carry." She untied a small pouch from around her neck. Inside lay a glass vial, glowing faint blue even in the moonlight. The light reflected in Ryan's eyes. "What is that?" he asked. "It's called terraformer water," she said quietly. "My mother worked in the deep labs before the planet died. She found a way to make life grow again. The water was made to heal worlds, but the Authority wanted to sell it. When she refused, they killed her. I ran with this." Ryan stared at the vial. He had seen many strange things in the galaxy, but this felt alive. The glow pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. "How much can it do?" "Even 1 drop," Sierra whispered, "could bring back a forest." For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind whistled between the rocks. Finally, Ryan said, "If that's true, then you're carrying hope itself." Sierra nodded slowly. "Hope doesn't fill a throat." He smiled faintly, then handed her his canteen again. "Drink." Her eyes widened. "But drink," he repeated. "I'll find more." She drank small sips, watching him over the rim. "Why are you helping me, human? You could sell this water and live rich for the rest of your life." Ryan looked away, toward the horizon glowing with the fires of a dying world. "Because I'm not like them, and because you remind me of someone I once couldn't save." Before she could reply, a low hum vibrated beneath their feet, the sound of engines, dozens of them growing louder by the second. Sierra's eyes widened. "They found us." Ryan grabbed her arm and pulled her behind a rock. "We're out of time." He checked his rifle, only 2 shots left. Sierra clutched the glowing vial to her chest. "If they take it, everything dies." Ryan looked at her, then at the faint light of his ship's beacon flashing miles away across the dunes. "Then we make sure they don't." The night wind rose again, carrying sand like blades through the air. Shadows moved on the ridge above. Ryan whispered, When I fire, run. Don't stop until you see the ship. Sierra hesitated, fear in her eyes, but she nodded. The first drone light swept over them. Ryan took a breath and aimed. The sky exploded with fire. The sky lit up like a storm of blue fire. Plasma bolts tore through the sand, scattering heat and light. Ryan dragged Sierra behind a ridge as the air hissed with energy beams. Above them, dark drones hovered, scanning with blood-red eyes. "Keep your head down," Ryan shouted over the roar. Sierra clutched the glowing vial to her chest. The hum of the machines filled the night, mixing with the smell of scorched sand and metal. The raiders had come back, and this time they weren't alone. 6 armored bikes raced across the dunes, engines screaming. Behind them followed a crawler tank, its heavy treads crushing the ground. Mounted on top was a figure in silver armor. Commander Vex, a name whispered even among raiders. "Target located," a mechanical voice boomed from a drone. "Capture the girl. Eliminate the human," Ryan cursed under his breath. "They're using military codes." He turned to Sierra. "Your authority's serious about that vial?" Sierra nodded, her face pale. "They'll kill us both for it. Then we don't give them the chance." Ryan pulled a small device from his belt, a signal flare launcher. He aimed it into the sky and fired. A green light shot upward, bursting like a silent firework. Far across the horizon, a faint blue flash answered. His ship had received the call. He turned to Sierra. "We run north. The ship's autopilot will meet us there." She looked terrified. "That's across the open flats. There's no cover." "Then we'll make our own." Ryan grabbed a small pack and tossed it into the sand behind them. It exploded in a thick cloud of gray smoke. "Move," he shouted. They ran. The wind whipped through their clothes as they sprinted down the slope. The sand shifted beneath their feet. Sierra's lungs burned, her body screaming in pain, but she didn't stop. Behind them, plasma fire lit up the smoke cloud. Ryan led her between tall rock pillars, once part of an ancient city. The shadows hid them, but the drone's red beams sliced through the dark. One beam passed inches from Sierra's head. She stumbled, falling to her knees. The vial slipped from her hands, rolling across the ground. "No," she cried. Ryan dove forward, catching it before it hit a stone. He tucked it into his vest and lifted her up. "Don't drop this again. You're holding a miracle." "I'm holding a curse," she whispered, tears cutting lines through the dust on her cheeks. He didn't answer. The sound of bikes grew louder, closer. They had maybe a minute. Ryan scanned the ruins and spotted a cracked tunnel half buried under sand. There, they crawled inside just as another explosion rocked the surface. Inside the tunnel, it was dark, damp, and cold. The walls were made of smooth metal, old human tech, long forgotten. Sierra's voice trembled. "What is this place?" Ryan brushed the dust from a faded logo, Terragen Lab 47. His face hardened. "Terraforming research facility. Your mother's people must have worked here." Sierra looked around. Broken screens flickered faintly, showing ghostly images of forests and oceans. For a moment, her breath caught. This is where it started. Ryan turned on a wrist light and searched through the wreckage. He found a control panel still humming with low power. "Maybe we can use this to mask our signal." But before he could touch it, Sierra grabbed his arm. "No, they'll trace it." He looked at her. "You know this system?" "I used to hide in one like it when I was little." "My mother taught me to stay invisible." Ryan smiled faintly. "Smart woman." Sierra's expression softened. "She was kind." "Like you," he paused. "Kind gets people killed." Before Sierra could reply, a metallic screech echoed down the tunnel. Red light spilled in from behind. "They found us," Ryan muttered. He aimed his rifle, but the battery icon blinked red. One shot left. Sierra held up the vial. Its glow pulsed stronger now, reacting to the heat and tension. "This can save worlds, but it can also destroy," she whispered. "My mother said it changes depending on the heart of who holds it." Ryan gave her a sharp look. "Then let's hope mine's still good." He stepped out of cover and fired his last shot. The blast hit the drone square in its sensor. The explosion shook the tunnel. Pieces of debris rained down as he grabbed Sierra's hand again. "Go!" he yelled. They burst from the tunnel into the open air. In the distance, the first light of dawn touched the dunes, a pale orange glow over endless wasteland. Behind them, Commander Vex's voice boomed through the comms. "Run all you want, human! The desert swallows everyone in the end." Ryan didn't answer. He just kept running. Sierra looked up at him, exhausted. "Why do you care so much? I'm not even your kind." He met her gaze, his voice quiet but firm. Because right now you're the only kind worth saving. They ran into the rising sun, their shadows stretching across the dunes like ghosts of a dying world, while behind them, the sound of pursuit grew louder once again. The morning light crawled slowly over the dunes, touching the desert with faint gold. Rion and Syrah kept moving, their shadows long and thin across the wasteland. Behind them, the hum of engines faded, and for now, the raiders had lost their trail in the night, but Ryan knew they would return. They reached a valley of broken metal, the remains of a giant research dome, half buried in sand. The curved glass had cracked long ago, letting in the wind and sun. Yet somewhere inside, faint light still flickered like dying stars. Ryan crouched beside the entrance, his rifle ready. "Stay behind me," he whispered. Syrah nodded, clutching the glowing vial close to her heart. Its light pulsed through her fingers, faint but alive. Inside, the air was cool and still. The walls hummed softly with old power. Ryan swept his light across the control panels, each one covered in dust but still blinking weakly. This place, he muttered, was once full of life. Syrah's eyes filled with memories. "My mother worked in one of these domes," she said softly. "She said humans helped build them when they first came to our world. But when the planet dried, they left, and the authority took control." Ryan paused, his voice calm but low. "And the terraformer water, your mother's work, it was meant to save this planet?" Syrah nodded. "Yes, she found a way to grow life from nothing. But the leaders wanted it for power. They used fear to control us, made us believe water was divine. When she refused to give them the formula, they destroyed the labs. I was just a child when they came for us." Her voice cracked, but she didn't cry. She hid me in a tunnel. She gave me this vial and said, "One day find a heart brave enough to share it." Ryan listened quietly. His gaze softened. "She trusted you with the future of an entire world." Syrah looked up at him. "But what if I'm not strong enough?" He shook his head. "Strength isn't about power. It's about what you protect." They walked deeper into the dome, past rows of shattered tanks and dry vines. On the far wall, faded words still glowed faintly. "Project Genesis, Life Reborn." Rion ran a finger over the letters. "Genesis," he whispered. "Your mother wasn't trying to survive. She was trying to begin again." Syrah touched the wall too, her hand trembling. "She believed every world could heal if people cared enough to try." A soft beep interrupted the silence. Ryan turned. One of the control panels flickered to life, showing a holographic image. A woman with gentle eyes and the same faint markings on her face as Syrah. Syrah gasped. "Mother." The hologram spoke in a calm, fading voice. "If you are seeing this, my child, then I am gone. But know this, water is not our only gift. Compassion is. Protect it. Share it. And when you meet one who gives without asking, trust him. He is the bridge between stars." The image faded into static. Syrah covered her mouth, trembling. She knew. She knew about you." Ryan said nothing. His throat felt tight. He looked at the vial glowing between them. "Your mother believed in both of us." Before Syrah could reply, the dome shook violently. A loud metallic voice echoed from outside. "Commander Ryan." It was Commander Vex and his old superior. "You are charged with treason against the Terran core. Surrender the specimen and the alien." Syrah's eyes widened. "They found us." Ryan's jaw tightened. "So it's true. They never left this planet." "They've been watching." The comm crackled again. "You were sent to retrieve the terraformer water, not protect it. Give her up and you'll live." Rion looked at Syrah. Her face was pale, but her eyes held trust. He took a slow breath. "I don't follow orders anymore." He turned toward the exit and raised his rifle. "Stay behind the generator. No matter what happens, you don't let them take that vial." Syrah grabbed his sleeve. "Ryan, if you fight, they'll kill you." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but they won't kill hope." The sound of heavy boots echoed outside. Shadows moved through the broken glass above. The dome trembled as drones circled overhead. Syrah pressed herself against the cold metal, whispering a silent prayer to the memory of her mother. Ryan stepped into the sunlight, weapon ready, his armor glowing in the golden dust. The two forces faced each other across the desert ruins, one fighting for control, the other for compassion, and above them the vial pulsed brighter than ever, as if sensing that the moment of truth had finally begun. The sun hung high over the ruins, casting sharp light across the shattered dome. Heat shimmered on every surface, and the air vibrated with the low hum of hover engines. Commander Vex's troops surrounded the research dome in a precise circle, metallic armor glinting like knives in daylight. Inside, Ryan checked his rifle. Half a charge left and not enough cover to last long. Sierra crouched behind the generator, clutching the glowing vial. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it echo. "Ryan," she whispered, "what are we going to do?" He looked at her and forced a calm smile. "We'll buy time. My ship's still inbound. If we hold them off, we can make it to the ridge." Sierra nodded, though her hands trembled. She didn't tell him what she feared most, that even if they escaped, the Authority would never stop hunting the vial. A loud voice thundered through the air. "Commander Ryan of the Terran Corps, you are outnumbered and surrounded. Surrender the alien and the vial, and you will be shown mercy." Ryan stepped into the open sunlight. The soldiers stiffened as their scanners identified him. Human, former officer, marked missing in action. Commander Vex emerged from a dropship, tall and broad, his armor gleaming silver. His voice carried the weight of authority and contempt. "You disappoint me, Ryan. You were one of my best." Ryan aimed his rifle. "And you were supposed to protect the helpless, not sell their future." Vex's lips curled into a smirk. "Protect? You think mercy builds worlds? Power does. The terraformer water belongs to those who can control it. It was never meant for these creatures." He gestured toward Sierra. Sierra's eyes burned. "You turned life into a weapon," she shouted. Vex ignored her. "Give it to me, Ryan. Do the smart thing for once." Ryan said nothing. His finger hovered over the trigger, but a faint beep came from his wrist communicator. He glanced down. A secure transmission flashed on the screen. "Ryan, this is command. Stand down. Deliver the subject alive. Extraction in 10 minutes." Sierra froze. Her face went pale. "They're your people. You called them here, didn't you?" Ryan looked up, startled. "No, listen to me." "I didn't," but her voice rose, trembling with hurt. "You were one of them all along. You led me here." "No," he said quickly, stepping closer. "Sierra, I swear, enough!" Vex barked, his soldiers raising their rifles. Even now she doesn't understand. "You're a soldier, Ryan. You follow orders." Ryan's jaw tightened. He turned off his communicator and threw it into the sand, crushing it under his boot. Not anymore. For a heartbeat, everything was still. Then Vex gave a slow, mocking clap. "So the hero's grown a conscience. Fine, die with her." He raised his hand. Fire. Bolts of plasma screamed through the air. Ryan dove, dragging Sierra behind a wall as the dome erupted in flame. The shockwave knocked them both down. Dust filled their lungs. Alarms blared from every corner of the crumbling facility. Ryan coughed and pulled Sierra close. "We need to move now." They sprinted through the wreckage, dodging fire and falling beams. Sierra's grip tightened around the vial as she ran. "They'll kill us both!" "Not if I can help it," he said. They burst through a cracked service door into open air. The desert wind hit them like fire. Behind them, Vex's troops poured from the dome. Ryan raised his rifle, firing until the battery drained dry. He hit 2 soldiers, but more kept coming. Vex stepped out, unharmed, his voice echoing through the comms. "You can't run from your own kind, Ryan." Ryan smirked through gritted teeth. "Watch me." He pulled a small detonator from his belt and pressed the trigger. The dome behind them erupted in a wave of blue fire, an explosion that tore the sands apart. For a moment it blinded everyone. Sierra turned in shock. "You destroyed it!" "Had to," Ryan said, panting. "No one should have that technology. Not them." The ground shook beneath their feet. Flames danced behind them like ghosts. They reached the top of a dune, and then Ryan stumbled. Blood seeped from a burn across his shoulder. Sierra caught him before he fell. "You're hurt." He shook his head. "Just a scratch." But his skin was pale and his breath came shallow. The vial's glow reflected in his eyes. "Keep it safe," he said quietly. "Promise me." Tears welled in her eyes. "Don't say that," he managed a weak smile. "We're almost there." "My ship." Before he could finish, a gunshot cracked the air. Ryan froze, eyes wide. A red mark bloomed on his chest. Vex stood at the ridge, smoke rising from his blaster. "Almost," he said coldly. Sierra screamed, catching Ryan as he fell to his knees. The vial pulsed wildly in her hand, brighter than ever, as if reacting to his heartbeat fading. Ryan's voice was faint. "Don't let them win. Promise me you'll make it rain again." She nodded through her tears. "I promise." He smiled once softly. "Good. Then maybe this world still has hope. His eyes closed. The desert wind howled. Sierra turned slowly toward Vex, her hands trembling, the vial glowing brighter and hotter, like a small star ready to explode. The desert fell silent except for the whisper of the wind. Ryan's body lay motionless in the sand, his hand still half raised toward the burning horizon. The twin suns hung low, painting everything in red and gold. Sierra knelt beside him, trembling. Her throat was tight, her breath shallow, her heart breaking piece by piece. The vial in her hand glowed furiously now, flooding her face with silver light. "Rion," she whispered, shaking him gently. "Please, open your eyes." But he didn't move. Behind her, Commander Vex's heavy boots crunched across the sand. "Fitting, isn't it?" he said coldly. "He dies protecting a lie." Sierra turned, her eyes burning with fury. "You killed him for nothing," Vex smirked. "Not for nothing. For control. With that vial, I can bring Zerath 9 back to life on my terms." He reached out a gloved hand. "Give it to me and I might let you live." Sierra stared at him for a long, silent moment. Then, with trembling fingers, she lifted the vial close to her chest. "You'll have to kill me first." Vex's smirk vanished. "So be it." He raised his blaster, but before he could fire, the ground trembled. The sand around Ryan's body shimmered, rippling like water. The vial's glow pulsed brighter, responding to something unseen. Sierra looked down and gasped. A single drop of liquid had rolled from the vial and fallen into the sand beside Rion's hand. The grain beneath it darkened, softening, turning to mud. "What?" Vex muttered, taking a step back. Sierra felt warmth rise through her palm. The vial was vibrating now, humming like a heartbeat. The glow grew so bright she had to shield her eyes. Ryan's body stirred. A faint breath escaped his lips. His eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. Sierra cried out, half in shock, half in joy. "Rion, you're alive!" He groaned, his voice barely a whisper. "Didn't think I'd missed the ending." The vial's light dimmed slightly, as if satisfied. Rion reached out, touching Sierra's hand. "Use it," he rasped. "Finish what your mother started." "But if I open it completely, it might burn out," she said, voice shaking. Rion managed a faint smile. "Then make it count." Vex aimed his blaster again, furious now. "Enough of this nonsense." Ryan turned his head toward him, eyes cold. "You never understood, Vex. This was never about power." Then he did something no soldier would have done. He reached for his belt, unfastened his canteen, and handed it to Sierra. "Take it," he said softly. Every drop, Sierra froze. "But it's your last," he met her gaze. "So I'm giving it to you." Tears blurred her vision as she poured the remaining water into the vial. The two liquids merged, the pure terraformer essence and the human water, swirling like living light. The desert wind rose, carrying static energy through the air. Vex fired, but the beam curved away, drawn into the glowing storm forming around them. "What is this?" he shouted, shielding his face. Sierra stood tall now, holding the vial high. "It's life," she whispered. "Something you'll never own." The vial cracked open with a brilliant flash. Light poured out, flooding the desert with blinding brilliance. The ground shook violently. Ryan and Sierra were thrown backward as a wave of energy swept across the valley. When the light faded, the silence was broken by the faint sound of raindrops. Tiny drops of water fell from the crimson sky, landing softly on the scorched sand. Each drop hissed as it touched the ground. Then slowly green sprouts began to rise. The desert was breathing again. Vex stumbled backward, his armor soaked, eyes wide in disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. "You've doomed us all." He raised his weapon again, but lightning cracked from the sky and struck him before he could fire. His body fell lifeless to the wet sand. Sierra crawled toward Ryan. The rain was falling harder now, washing the dust from their faces. She lifted his head into her lap, tears mixing with the rain. "It worked," she whispered through trembling lips. "You did it," Rion smiled weakly. "No," he murmured. "We did." His eyes slowly closed, but this time his expression was peaceful. Sierra pressed her forehead against his, whispering, "I'll keep my promise." All around them, the land began to change. Rivers formed where craters once were. The dead sky turned blue for the first time in centuries. Sierra placed the cracked vial beside Ryan's hand. The light inside it faded, but the rain didn't stop. She rose to her feet and looked to the horizon where life was spreading again. "He gave me more than water," she said softly. "He gave me hope." The camera of the story would pull back, showing the endless desert now turning green. Waterfalls spilling over ancient cliffs and the first true river of Zerath 9 flowing strong. And at the heart of it all, where the water first touched the earth, a simple marker stood, the River Ryan. The rain did not stop. It fell for days and nights without end, washing away centuries of dust and sorrow. The dunes of Zerath 9 melted into rivers, and the rivers grew into shimmering lakes. Where there had once been silence, now there was the sound of running water, soft, pure, alive. Sira stood on a rocky ridge overlooking what had become a valley of green. Grass stretched across the plain, bending under the gentle wind. The air smelled fresh for the first time in living memory, and far below the new river wound like a silver ribbon across the land, the River Ryan. She whispered his name with reverence. He gave everything, so life could begin again. The world below her seemed to answer. The trees, still young and fragile, rustled as if listening. The rain fell softly on the stone marker she had carved herself, a simple slab of metal from the wreckage of his armor, etched with his name. Commander Ryan, the human who gave his last drop. Sira knelt beside it, placing the cracked vial upon the stone. Its glow was faint now, just a gentle heartbeat of light, but she could feel Ryan's presence in it, steady, warm, protective. For a long while she said nothing. She only listened to the sound of water, feeling the heartbeat of a reborn planet beneath her palms. But peace never lasted long on Zerath 9. From the distant horizon, shadows moved. Airships bearing the emblem of the Authority. Even after the storm, they still sought control. They had seen the change from orbit and now came to claim it. Sira rose to her feet, her wet clothes clinging to her skin. She no longer looked weak or afraid. The fear had died with the old world. The girl who once begged for a drop of water was gone. In her place stood a woman forged by loss, carrying the will of a fallen human. The ships descended, kicking up clouds of mist. A group of soldiers stepped out, their leader in black armor scanning the lush valley with disbelief. "This place was dead," he muttered. "What happened here?" Sira stepped forward unarmed. Her voice was calm but carried power. "It was dead because you chose to keep it that way." The leader turned sharply. "Who are you?" She met his gaze. "The daughter of the woman you killed, and the ally of the man you couldn't break." The soldiers hesitated. Around them the rain continued to fall, but the moment their boots touched the new grass, small white flowers bloomed underfoot. Even the ground rejected their violence. "You can't stop us," the leader growled. "We'll take what's left of that power." Sira shook her head. "You can't take life. You can only give it." She held out her hands, palms up. The faint blue light of the vial shimmered once more, as if awakening to her resolve. The rain thickened, turning to a downpour. Lightning flashed across the newborn sky. The soldiers stumbled backward, their scanners failing. The leader fell to his knees, soaked and trembling. What is this?" Sira's voice echoed over the thunder. "A gift, from the man you called weak." When the light faded, the soldiers fled, their machines short-circuiting in the rain. The airships lifted and vanished into the clouds. For the first time, the Authority ran from the planet they once ruled. Sira watched them go. "Let them spread the word," she whispered. "The age of thirst is over." She turned back to the river. The water sparkled beneath the twin suns breaking through the clouds. New creatures, small, fragile things, emerged from the mud. Birds with crystal feathers soared over the valley. Life had returned in forms both alien and familiar. Sira felt a strange peace settle inside her. The pain was still there, the grief of losing her mother, her people, and Ryan. But now it felt lighter, woven into something greater. She sat by the riverbank, dipping her fingers into the cool water. "You see, Ryan?" she whispered. "Your drop was enough, more than enough." A ripple spread from her touch, glowing faintly. She smiled through her tears. In the years that followed, people returned to Zerath 9. Refugees from the wastelands built new homes beside the river. They planted gardens, raised children, and told stories of the human who gave his water to a dying girl. They said his spirit lived in the rain, watching over the green valleys. And every year, when the first rains fell, the people gathered by the river and lifted their hands to the sky. They called it the giving season, the day compassion defeated greed, the day hope was reborn. Sira grew older, wiser, and kinder. But she never left the river. She became its guardian, the keeper of Ryan's promise. And when the stars shone brightest at night, she would look up and whisper, "We did it." The camera of the story would rise high above the planet, showing lakes like mirrors, forests rising where deserts once lay, and a single river cutting through it all like a line of light. At the center of it, the words etched on the stone gleamed under moonlight, the river Rio born from the last drop,